Welcome once again, nerds, to the news. This week, the biggest headlines for each section are as follows. In music, Sleep Token is kind of doing all of the things like we were anticipating as of last week. In gaming, we have the Pokemon Go developer has sold to a new company. It's a little interesting, more interesting than that though. So we'll get into that. Comic books, we have Rob Zombie, comic books and books, because this is a book headline, but Rob Zombie has a children's book that is causing a stir. We'll talk about that. TV streaming, we have some Taylor Sheridan shows that just get all of the love. In movies, we have Sadie Sink in Spider-Man 4, but that's got a big question mark at the end of it, so we'll get to that. And then in the rumor mill, those DCU leaks apparently might be false, fake, or just really old. We'll unpack all of that and quite a bit more. It's a big episode this week. Let's do the thing. All right, so music news this week, we got some Wild updates. Zakk Wylde specifically just dropped some information about the Ozzy show that was kind of speculated at, but now we have confirmation that this is the for real plan. Sleep Token fans, once again, get your money ready because they have a new record out. They have a tour that they've just announced. All of that we're going to go over. Plus, Baby Metal is also setting up a very interesting kind of huge tour that's bringing in none other than Ginger on this bill. So yeah, we've got a lot of stuff going on. Let's get into it. All right, nerds, we are in music, like I just said, and it's follow-ups and corrections time. We do have a few follow-ups, so we're going to jump in. First and foremost is the big one, which is Ozzy's farewell show. Zakk Wylde has clarified in a recent interview saying that everyone who's on the bill, every artist that we've been going, all right, so why is Billy Corgan up there by himself, and why is this band, like all of the questions we've been asking about, well, what kind of material are these acts going to be playing? Zakk Wylde has clarified and said, well, actually everyone is going to be playing some sort of Ozzy and or Black Sabbath tunes. I think specifically he said the Sabbath stuff was mostly going to be coming from other artists, because it sounds like Ozzy is only going to be performing for a fairly limited amount of time, and that limited amount of time is going to be mostly directed at his solo work. And then, like I said, everybody else is going to be doing the Sabbath stuff, and then there's going to be some actual Sabbath playing on stage too. So that clears that up, at least for me, so I figured I would share. And then we have two pieces of touring kind of mishap situations. ZZ Top, and they're both basically the same thing, though the Flogging Molly one we actually know a little bit more about. ZZ Top and Flogging Molly both lost a member during their most recent touring cycle. ZZ Top lost their drummer Frank Beard. Flogging Molly lost their vocalist, so they had to cancel some shows. The Flogging Molly situation is, they're both health situations. Flogging Molly very specifically is an aneurysm. That's scary. So whatever you got to do, send good vibes out to both ZZ Top and Flogging Molly, because they are down members. The health issues with Frank Beard from ZZ Top were not specified, so it's anyone's guess. They are getting up there in age, so it really could be a number of things. But that is what we have for follow-ups and corrections. Let's now talk about some new music. First up, and now that we're into the new music subsection, last week I clarified we're going to be changing how this works. This is going to be, it's news. We're reporting on the newness of this section. So new music that has been released, we will be talking about its existence. What I think of it is more appropriate for the review show, which I do every week as well, called That Just Happened. So if you want a specific reaction review kind of situation like we have been doing normally here on this show, you're gonna have to tune in to That Just Happened when it gets posted up in a few days, also on the main channel, so that's handy. But we're just going to be talking about announced music that has come out, but we're not going to necessarily give any sort of opinion on said music. So That being said, Sleep Token has released a new single, which we anticipated again from last week with the last 3-4 weeks even, with all of the crazy mystery that everyone thought might be leading into a new record. Well, that's legit. But we have tour also announced from them that we'll get to when we get to the touring section. But the new record is called Even in Arcadia. And I did not see a release date on that, or I just forgot to write it down. Wait, is it in the other notes? Yes, it is in the other notes. Hey, I did take the note. I just missed it. So May 9th is the release date for the new Sleep Token record. The new single, as I said, is out now. You can go watch the video. That, again, we will talk about my opinions on that in the That Just Happened episode for this week. Moving right along, staying in the heaviness, we have Malevolence has announced that they are also releasing a new record. The name of the record is where the Sleep Token record is Even in Arcadia. I already said that. Okay. So the Malevolence record is Where Only the Truth is Spoken. It is set to be released June 20th via MLV Ltd and Nuclear Blast. So MLV must be the distribution that they have in the UK. Nuclear Blast is who they are distributed through in the States. They have a new single also off of this record. Once again, we will be talking about that in That Just Happened. That will be up in a few days. The name of the new single, though, is If It's All the Same to You. Yeah, I'm super stoked to talk to you about that one. It's gonna be a little bit of a weird transition coming out of the way we've been doing things for like 3 years and kind of switching it up a little bit. So I apologize if I keep talking to you like this. But next up, the one that I kind of have been keeping the most tabs on out of all the new music this week is Spirit World's Helldorado. It is set to be released probably by the time this video is up, because this video is going to be late by a little bit. So the 21st of this month of March is when Helldorado is going to be out. If you don't know Spirit World, then it's not Spirit Box. They don't even sound alike, even though their names are similar. It is Spirit World. These dudes are from Vegas, and it's kind of country, metal, thrash, hardcore. Either way, it's a really awesome mixture of genres. Super excited for this new record. I can't wait to listen to it, but as it stands right now, it's not out. It will be out. We'll keep tabs and do updates and follow-ups and things. That's, though, what we got for new music this week. That puts us into tours and festivals. Coming out the gate again with the big one, that is Sleep Token's tour has been announced. This is once again in support for their new record, which will be out May 9th, called Even in Arcadia. The tour has been announced. The tickets go on sale, obviously, very soon, March 21st, so probably by the time this video has been released. So March 21st is when tickets go on sale. The tour dates start September 10th in Duluth, Georgia, run through October 11th in Los Angeles, California. I don't know who else is going to be on this bill, if anyone else is going to be on this bill, but so far, that's what we got. We'll keep tabs. Let's move on. Next up, a couple of real quick ones. Everclear, one of my favorites of all time, is going back out on the road. This is the 30th anniversary tour for the record Sparkle and Fade, which is pretty awesome. It's one of my favorites, not gonna lie. Tour dates are September 4th through November 2nd. It will be Local H and Sponge supporting the band out on the tour, out on the road for this one, which is a kind of a hell of a lineup. If you're a 90s alt rock listener, then like Local H, Sponge, I don't know, I can kind of go either way on Sponge, but Local H is pretty damn good, and I really love Everclear, so yeah, pretty interesting, pretty great little bill you got there. Next up, like I said, a couple of quickies. We have Gorilla Biscuits, hardcore favorites. Gorilla Biscuits going on tour May 23rd through 25th. That doesn't sound right. I wrote something down wrong, so hopefully if you're watching and not just listening, I will have fixed that on screen at this point. We have starts May 23rd and then through something the 25th. Supporting acts on this bill are going to be Speed, the flute hardcore dudes from Australia, Killing Time, the Mongoloids rather, and By the Grace of God. Tickets for any of these shows, you can find ticket links down in the description, except for Sleep Token. Those don't go live until the 21st, like I said. Then we have a Clutch tour. Yes, please and thank you. This is the actual, this is a continuation of the tour that they're currently on. It's the second leg of the Full Ahead Flank 2025 is the name of the tour. It is the North American tour. The second leg starts July 30th in Little Rock, Arkansas. It runs through August 16th in Hammond, Indiana. Pre-sale for these is now. It will be open to the rest of the public by the 21st. And then Baby Metal, the other giant tour in this episode. Baby Metal has announced a tour that's also going to be split into 2 legs, but the split is very interesting. So we have Black Veil Brides, Ginger, and Bloodywood are the support, but Black Veil Brides and Ginger are the 2 different legs. The first leg is Black Veil Brides, the second leg is Ginger, and Bloodywood will be on all of the dates with Baby Metal as well. But Bloodywood is going to be opening the show, and then it goes into either Black Veil Brides or Ginger, and then Baby Metal will be closing the show. The tour starts June 13th in Houston, Texas, runs through July 23rd in Phoenix, Arizona. And pre-sales are on sale. Again, by the time you are watching this video, pre-sales will be active. Regular tickets go on sale the 21st. So links in the description will get you there eventually if they're not direct links as it is. That's what we have for touring this week. Let's now get into some regular ass news. First piece of regular news this week is kind of weird, but also kind of awesome. It's a piece of country music news, specifically around Orville Peck. But that's the only reason it's country music related, because it's really theater related. Orville Peck is going to be playing the MC for Cabaret in the Kit Kat Club iteration of the play, starting March 31st. It did not have an end date. So usually when theater things happen like this, when it's somebody well known, they'll be doing it for like a month or 3 months or something like that. So I can't imagine it's going to be going for a super long amount of time, especially because he's got a record that he kind of only toured a little bit to support. So I would imagine there's still another big tour behind that before he puts out new music and so on and so forth. But that's kind of a cool little thing. Like, Cabaret is one of my favorite Broadway plays. It's got a weird spot in my heart. I really appreciate that play. Couldn't tell you why. Maybe we could get into it some other time, I guess. But the other interesting thing about this is when it's a celebrity who does Broadway things or theater things, usually if that celebrity has some sort of like shtick, some sort of public thing that sets them apart, something like wearing a mask everywhere you go. Usually they let the celebrity kind of find a way to iterate on that inside of the context of the play. It looks like he could have if he had pushed for it, but it seems for this performance, Orville is going to be sans mask entirely. So we're finally going to see his face. And if you go over to his Instagram, like, you kind of are already seeing his face, which is really weird, not gonna lie. He's spent his entire country music career hiding behind that mask with the tassels. Why is this the moment? This is the one that I gotta pass off to you guys. Why is this the moment that he takes off the mask? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, but either way, I'm kind of excited for it. So there you go. Next on the list is, adding to the list of rock stars who have an issue with the president, Semisonic has come out against the White House's use of their song Closing Time. Apparently, there was some sort of social media post that the White House put out that used Semisonic's song in deportation. There we go. Deportation video. It showed people in handcuffs being deported back to their home countries to the music of the song Closing Time by Semisonic. So Semisonic on stage, or actually on their social medias, I think it was on their Facebook page specifically, came out and said this, and I quote, "We did not authorize or condone the White House's use of our song Closing Time in any way. And no, they didn't ask. The song is about joy and possibilities and hope, and they have missed the point entirely." End quote. Okay, so they don't have to ask as long as they paid the bill, as long as they paid for the rights, which you have made publicly available for a fee. As long as they've paid that fee, They don't have to ask your permission. I'm sorry. That's the way the music industry works. It's the way you get money. You didn't say no to the money. You didn't turn down any of the proceeds that are coming from the White House's use of your song because, again, they had to pay for those rights and you are benefiting from their payment. So grandstand all you want. You can virtue signal until you're blue in the face, but until you actually believe in the things that you're saying or actually believe in, making some sort of change to the way things happen, nobody really cares. So let's move on. Oh, is that the last? That is the last piece of regular ass news for the music section this week, guys. Let's get into our suggestion, shall we? Suggestion this week, I was gonna go with Everclear, which by all means, if you want to throw on a Everclear record on repeat for a couple of plays, then by all means do. But Ginger, their new record, Duel, is kind of awesome. That is your suggestion this week. Duel is the 5th studio album from these Ukrainian metalheads. It was released on February 7th, so last month. It is put out in the States by Napalm Records. I don't know if they have distribution worldwide elsewhere, but definitely in the States it was put out by Napalm Records. Standout tracks on this record, my favorite by far on this record is a song called Rogue. Duel is also a banger, and then Green Serpent is a bit of a surprising track on there as well. It's not the one that opens the record, but man, oh, the opening track also, I can't think of the name right now because it's not in the notes and wee ADD, but the opening track also is quite a banger. So just a record full of awesome stuff. The one song on here that I honestly didn't connect to is Someone's Daughter, and it's towards the end of the record. It was one of the singles, but either way, the rest of the record's awesome. So listen to the entire Duel from Ginger. That is your suggestion for the week. Like I said at the beginning of the season, this is going to be a big merch push season. We are jumping in to doing the merch. I have the first specialty piece lined up. It's probably going to drop next month though, so we're looking at April for our first specialty piece. So jump in now, get yourself some basic nerd shirts, just the real basic design. Let the world know that you are a nerd and you love the things that we talk about on this show. In the broad strokes, at the very least, there's the music nerd, there's the movie nerd, there's the gaming nerd and the tech nerd and all of the different kinds of nerds that we embrace here at Generally Nerdy, and then all of the other ones. If you feel like your category has been missed, please by all means let me know and I will make a shirt based on that information, assuming I agree with said information. But either way, merch push, go check out the merch store. We got some pretty awesome stuff, and I'm actually quite proud of these designs because I did them all by hand. So thank you very much, nerds. Go check out the merch store. Don't forget to, pick something up while you're there. Helps the channel a lot. As soon as we can start regularly getting merch out, I can start cutting back hours at the day job. That's how this works. I can focus more on entertaining and informing you guys. So thank you very much, nerds. Let's get back to the video. So now that we're on to gaming and tech, let's talk about some big headlines to intro the section. We have Fallout 76 dropping a pretty massive update that will let you play as ghouls, which is, there's some stuff to unpack there. Silent Hill F has released a new trailer. It's pretty damn eerie and creepy, and the Silent Hill transmission happened. We'll talk about that. And then in a pretty interesting move, the Pokemon Go developer Niantic has sold out to the Saudi company. And there's a lot to unpack with that. We just have so many things to get into. Let's dive in. So, follow-ups, corrections for gaming and tech. We have the one Fallout 76 piece. Fallout 76. We now are able to play as ghouls in Fallout 76. Technically, there's a trailer that launched with this, but this is something that they've talked about doing for, I think it's a year now. I think it was December of 23 when this was originally kind of put out there to see what happens. But yeah, it's finally rolled out. There is You can't just start a new character and get your character to start out life in the wasteland as a ghoul. I wish it was that easy, but it's not. You have to be an active player in the game insofar as you have a level 50 character. Then you take that level 50 character and you find the Leap of Faith quest, and throughout the course of the Leap of Faith, you then have the option to become a ghoul. A ghoul, all of the stats are very, very different, as you would imagine, from being a normal human player. And you can also change back from ghoul to human, and technically then change again to ghoul. But in order to go, once you've gone back to human, in order to go back to ghoul, you can't just do the quest again. You have to pay actual in-game currency in order to trade back to ghoul. So if you want to do some stuff as a ghoul and hang out for a while and do all of the things you can and then change back, have fun, just make sure you actually want to change back, because it's going to cost you a pretty penny if you change your mind again. So yeah, link down in the description, and then you've been watching clips from the trailer, assuming you're watching the episode, not just listening. Very interesting, super excited. Let's move on. Trailers, that's our one piece of follow-up, so let's talk trailers now. We have one big extra super awesome trailer, and that is Silent Hill F. We got the Silent Hill transmission just happened. So you have the ability to wishlist Silent Hill F. This is going to be on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series consoles, both the X and S, as well as the Switch. It did not say Switch 2. Actually, no, it didn't say Switch at all. It was Steam. I apologize. Please, somebody admonish me. But yeah, you can wishlist it now for whatever console or platform you desire. It will be, I didn't write down the release date for it, but it's soon. And you, like I said, you can go wishlist it, so it'll tell you when you want. The game looks fantastic. We're gonna transition though from talking about the game to talking about the Silent Hill transmission. This transmission broadcast last year, the first one that they did, was kind of action-packed. Well, action-packed might be not a fair description. Just jam-packed full of awesome Silent Hill stuff, because they had been sitting on quite a bit of Silent Hill information, being 3 different games that were actively in development, and then the movie and a couple other things, some merch things and stuff. So it was a long transmission last year because they had a lot to cover. They had Silent Hill 2, they had Silent Hill F, they had the next proper installment into the franchise, which I'm forgetting exactly what the subtitle for that one is right now. And then we talked a little bit about the movie, and we got to see all the really awesome merch and see all of the extra things. This year's transmission, by comparison, actually kind of sucked. But if you take it onto its own merits, it still wasn't great. It was a little bit disappointing because it was approximately 40 minutes or so of actual time talking about. There's a whole, if you go watch the VOD right now, there's a whole 15 minutes of countdown going into it, and then you get about 40 minutes worth of actually talking about the game. And the bits where they talk about the gameplay and the elements of design and things that went into it, that's pretty awesome. But they spend an extended amount of time, and I mean ridiculously extended amount of time, justifying having a game in the Silent Hill universe that is based in Japan. And not just based in Japan, but based in Japan in the 60s. Which, okay, it's cool that you're changing the setting, but I don't need 25 minutes of you justifying changing the setting. I'm fine with it. Let's please just talk about the crazy monster designs and the level designs, and what is the combat going to actually look like, because they kind of grazed over the combat bits. We got to see some really awesome monster designs. We got to see some new stuff. We got to talk about the music. They have the original composer from all of the other Silent Hill games. He's coming back for this. This time though, he's only doing half of the game, because if you've ever played Silent Hill, the game is usually divided into 2 separate pieces. You have the living world and the Silent Hill world. I think they call it the fog world and the underworld or something like that in the VOD from the transmission. So fog world is basically the real world where these people actually live, and then the underworld, or whatever the hell he called it, is Silent Hill, is what happens when all of the pretty is pulled away and you see the ugliness, and you're transported into basically a different dimension. So I didn't write his name down because I took horrible notes this week. I'm not even going to pretend like I take great notes, but I took really bad notes on this one because I was kind of frustrated with the fact that we weren't getting any actual information. So I just stopped taking notes. I apologize. Anyway, the original composer is doing the Fog world, is doing the real world, and then we have a new composer is doing the Silent Hill music. So super intrigued by that, because one of the hallmarks of this franchise is the music. So the fact that the guy who has always done the music is now doing half of the music has me very intrigued by what this other composer is bringing to the table. But again, that was maybe 5 to 8 minutes worth of the transmission where they got to talk about the music. And then they went back to talking about why it's based in Japan and why they chose to change the setting and why they based it in Japan and why they chose to change. We get it. It's not in America. You guys are a Japanese company, so you based it in Japan. That is really all of the explanation that's needed. Honestly, let's talk about the gameplay, please. So yeah, I just saved you a little bit of time, but there are, again, some really cool monster designs, some interesting insight into the music and the level design and things like that. You'll get bits and pieces if you watch the VOD. Otherwise, I've given you all of the pertinent information, so maybe I saved you 40 minutes of boredom. I love Silent Hill though, so I'm super stoked for Silent Hill. Enjoy the trailer as it's kind of been playing, or go watch it yourself because that's the better way to do it, because I'm talking over it right now. But as it stands right there, that's our only trailer for the week. Let's get into our big piece of regular ass news, shall we? We have one piece, and it's fairly sizable in that Pokemon Go is a gigantic kind of phenomenon of a video game, right? So Niantic, the developers who created the Pokemon Go game, I thought, until this happened, were a subsidiary or were somehow closely tied to Nintendo. It would seem they are not. They are simply contract workers for Nintendo, in that they have an agreement to maintain this game with Nintendo's branding and Nintendo's characters, but they are not themselves subservient to Nintendo. I think that's the word that works there. So they were a standalone company, and they just sold out to a company called Scopely. Scopely is a subsidiary of Savvy Games Group. Niantic rather also is responsible for Pikmin Bloom and Monster Hunter Now, both games that are actively still being supported by Niantic, which will come into play here in a moment. So real quick about Savvy Games. Savvy Games is a Saudi Arabian game investment group. This is the same game. They pay into the pack, or whatever the word is for this, the group, investment group that is putting on the Olympics, the esports Olympics in 2027. They're part of the entity that is doing that. So it's kind of huge. This is just another example of the Saudis really trying to push into the tech sphere, specifically trying to push in through gaming, which is very interesting phenomena going on in the industry right now. But all right, back to why they did this. So CEO of Niantic, John Honke, I think is how Honke, H-A-N-K, Hank, CEO John, said that the move is specifically for long-term. Where is the quote? They want the support for these games to be long-term enough so that they can be deemed, quote, forever games, unquote. So in order to maintain these games ad nauseum until the end of time, perceivably, that this move was necessary in order for them to have the funds and the manpower to keep that going. So it seems like it was necessary, but the jury is still out if it's going to make any kind of difference. Ideally, it won't make any difference. Things will just continue on as they have before. But how often does that happen when a company sells out to another company? Usually the company who bought the smaller company comes in and clears house and then tries to do it with their people who are already there, and that way they can save money and continue to do the thing, right? So if anything like that develops, we will be keeping tabs, and I will follow up Otherwise, that's what we got for regular S News, which means we have some suggestion, or a suggestion rather, for the week. And that suggestion for gaming this week, again, there were a couple of things I could have gone with, but I picked up Halo for the first time in about 2 months last night, and Halo Infinite is our suggestion for the week. Last night, 2 nights ago. No, last night, because Mortal Kombat was down, and so I needed something else to play, and it was Halo, and I forgot that it was kind of amazing right now. Like the multiplayer situation, as far as finding the game modes that you want to play, is a little cumbersome for no real reason. Like they just made it needlessly intricate and obtuse. But once you kind of figure out how to navigate that, you actually get into a game that you want to play. This is one of my favorite Halo experiences now, as far as multiplayer goes. Nothing will ever beat Halo 2. Halo 2 will always forever be the best FPS experience in my brain, probably just because of the nostalgia factor, because I played way too many hours at LAN parties with that, man. But this is a very close second as it sits right now. Halo Infinite is damn near perfect. It's kind of shut your brain off and frag some dudes kind of play. What more could you ask for out of a great FPS? So that is your suggestion for the week. Comic books and books. This week we got Battle Beast trailer for the new Battle Beast book. It is just as brutal as you might be thinking. Then we have Rob Zombie's Z is for Zombie children's book is creating a bit of a stir because apparently the internet does not know how to take a joke. And DC is giving superstar artist Jorge Jimenez his own art book. I'm super stoked about a lot of the things going on in comic books this week. Let's talk about them. So, no follow-ups or corrections. We do have trailers, though. So, that's where we're actually starting. We have trailer for Battle Beast, the Invincible spin-off book, got a launch trailer. Go check it out. It looks like it's going to hold up to the expectations of Invincible readers. Kirkman, I think, has something to do with this. I, again, took kind of crap notes this week, so I apologize. But the trailer looks like it's a lot of fun. I can't remember how Kirkman's related to this one, but I know he is to some degree. So go check it out, and if it gets you excited, then go talk to your local comic book shop and see if you can get it on your pull list, because it looks pretty dope. Honestly, let's move on though. Books, comic books and books this week. Before we get into the regular ass news, because that is where we're going next, a little bit of a thing, because I'm trying to expand my coverage of these topics, and books I think has been one that has been lagging a lot recently. I found some new sources, so let me know in the comment section if this is a little bit more what you have in mind for the coverage of the comic books and books section. I'm trying to cast as wide a net as possible when it comes to these sections. So, regular S news, as I said. First up, we have the Rob Zombie situation, which, good lord, what the hell is wrong with people? We have Z is for Zombie is the new quote-unquote children's book that Rob Zombie has released. It is on shelves to however degree that can be said anymore. You can order it on Amazon. You can order it through book retailers. It is not an actual children's book because it's written by Rob Zombie. It's made to look like a children's book, but then there's a lot of things from our past, if you were a millennial, that were made to look like they were for kids, but they were absolutely not for kids. Immediately, things that come to mind: Tim and Eric, awesome show, good job. The Avenue Q musical on Broadway. The list goes on and on, it would seem. So for people to be judging it strictly on the packaging seems very naive, especially when you consider that the author is Rob Zombie. So, Rob Zombie has come out and said, of course it's not intended for children. Why do people not know how to take a joke anymore? It's a Rob Zombie book. What the hell did you expect? That is definitely a paraphrase, but it looked fairly close to the actual thing that he said recently about the stir that this has been causing. People have been legitimately pissed off that this book exists because it's not actually for children. Why are you trying to market a children's book that isn't actually, that's just scary, and it's got blood and people dying and there's zombies, and this is not for children. This is disgusting. I mean, again, paraphrasing, but pretty close to the sentiment of the people who disagree with the existence of this book. I think one of the comments I read almost got the joke in that they said, well, kudos to the author if this is a joke, but if this is for real, they deserve to be in prison, or something along those lines. Like, this is obviously, like, how are we to the point in our society that we have fragmented to such a degree that people forgot that Rob Zombie makes horror-themed music and also horror movies. So if you get something that resembles a children's book from the guy who gave you the horror music and horror movies, maybe it's not really for kids. I don't know. Just saying. Anyway, that's our first piece. Let's move on. Next up, we have, this one's very interesting because I honestly kind of forgot that these were still going on. So we have an acquisition. We have the company that it was behind Alfred Hitchcock's mystery magazine, Analog Science Fiction and Fact, Asimov's Science Fiction, Ellery Queen Mystery Magazine, and the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction. That was one company that was behind all of those magazines. They have been acquired by the Must Read Magazines company. It is a division of which itself is a division of a newish publishing company called Must Read Books Publishing. They have said, Must Read Books has said, that they are going to be keeping on all of their editorial staff from each of those individual magazines. They will be retained in the acquisition, but they didn't say anything about the lower level employees, so probably those guys are out of here. Jackie Sherbo, who has been promoted to editor of Ellery Queen Magazine, will also be joining the new publishing group as a publisher instead of just an editor of the mystery magazine. So that's pretty cool. These magazines, these have been around forever. I mean, there's a reason why Asimov's name is associated with one of them and Alfred Hitchcock's name is associated with the other one, because they've been around since the 50s. Actually, I think the Asimov one might have even been like the 40s. It might have been the 50s, don't hold me to that, but I think it was a little bit earlier than the 50s. I think it was like the 40s or so. Because Asimov's career spanned a great wide amount of time, right? So yeah, the fact that these books are still going and that there is a company out there that is willing to keep them going is freaking awesome. So if you're looking for just kind of a sampling of the hot newness in any of those subgenres, you've got, again, 2 different mystery magazines, 3 different science fiction magazines. Yeah, you pick these up. They publish them, I think it's like once a year or twice a year, and it's got shorts from like the up and comers and some of the new hotness, as it were, in these genres. And like that's kind of that's how I found, honestly, a lot of really great science fiction authors. So go check them out, man. From there, let's talk about, there is a new publisher in books now that is going to be focusing specifically on science fiction and fantasy. The new publisher is the Bloomsbury Archer, which is an imprint of Bloomsbury Bloomsbury Books. They will be publishing everything from speculative fiction to fantasy and a bunch of crossovers and subgenres therein. So science fiction, speculative fiction, fantasy, all of that stuff. It's just this exciting that we have more people getting into the game of publishing printed word in an age where printed word is kind of dying. But these genres of printed word are alive and well, baby. So that's exciting. Let's move on, though. Our final piece of regular ass news is Jorge Jimenez, DC artist extraordinaire. Honestly, the guy who, if I were to say, think of the most iconic DC image from the last 10 years, 15 years even, you're probably thinking of a piece of art from Jorge Jimenez. He is getting his very own art book courtesy of DC Inc. It is going to be 200 pages. It's going to span his entire career with DC. I don't know that he's currently doing art for anything under the DC umbrella right now, but it's not to say he's not going to in the future, or I'm just blanking some book that I know he's doing and I'm just forgetting that he's on it. So Jimenez, though, is one of the most iconic artists of our time, like living comic book artist that is going to go down in history as one of the greats. That's the dude right there. Yeah, so it will be on shelves. I don't have a date for that. Son of a bitch. Like I said, horrible notes this week. So yeah, it will be on shelves eventually. We'll come back to that. Okay, moving on. Our suggestion this week is an older novel. A novel that was printed in 1949, and it was written by George Orwell. We're talking about 1984. Honestly, the only George Orwell book that I can actually sit through, because the rest of Orwell's, the other 8 books, because he wrote a total of 9, this being the 9th, just don't, I can't do Orwell. I don't know why. I just don't connect with his writing, except for 1984. This one is mildly socially, politically motivated. I'm not gonna lie. I think even though Orwell may or may not have been some sort of anarchic socialist or something, I don't know what the hell Wikipedia has him listed as, because Wikipedia can be wrong. Wikipedia often is wrong, honestly, because Wikipedia is a bunch of activists who are editing it. So they're changing the way we interpret history, which is a whole other video for a whole other channel. But George Orwell, either way, even if he identified as something, I don't think he did, I think he still hit the nail on the head with this one, because 1984 could not be more relevant today than it has throughout its entirety of its existence. This book is super important. And it is super important for people to understand that it's not just one side or the other that is going to be an issue. When you read a book like 1984, you see that everything can go too far. Everything, every belief structure can go too far, can go into territory where it is dangerous. And that's, I think, the great point that George Orwell made with this book. So, go read 1984, especially if you've never read it before. It's not incredibly long. It's like 300-400 pages, and it will help you wade through the nonsense over the course of the next probably decade that we're going to be dealing with some craziness in our social political landscape. That's your suggestion for the week. All right, then, TV streaming is where we're going next. In TV streaming, we have Landman already locked in for a second season. Also, God of War already locked in for a second season. We haven't even seen a trailer for the first season. We'll definitely go through all of that. Plus, we have a release date finally for the next season of Black Mirror, and a little bit of information about what to expect from the creator of the show. We also have a probable goodbye to the MTV Movie and TV Awards, or whatever the hell. Yeah, that's what there's stuff to get into, so let's break it down. Follow-ups, corrections. Let's do this. All right. Landman is the first of 2 Taylor Sheridan shows that is getting a renewal for another season. We now know that Landman is officially coming back for a second season. That's really the update. So let's move to the next one. God of War now is also getting a second season, even though where the hell is season 1? Where is any official imagery from season 1? Where is some behind the scenes or a trailer? We have nothing for season 1, yet they're bringing it back for a second season already. Okay. Looney Tunes. Let's talk about Looney Tunes for a moment, because we're going to talk about Looney Tunes actually a couple more times, at least one more time in this episode. So Looney Tunes has officially the original Looney Tunes shorts, the ones that most of us grew up watching, whether or not you knew how old they were or not. Because I remember I had some VHS tapes of the OG Looney Tunes shorts that are lost to time at this point, but I definitely grew up watching those cartoons because my mother was amazing and got me some really fantastic stuff when I was a kid, and I don't really know how because we grew up really poor, but Looney Tunes, those original shorts have been pulled from Max. You can no longer watch the original Looney Tunes shorts on Max. there are other places to watch them. Tubi has some of them. There are a couple of other smaller streamers who have some of them, so you kind of have to weed through and find and navigate to where they are, but they do still exist. So if you want to watch the classics, they're out there. They're just a little bit harder to find because they're not on their home streaming service. I think this is ridiculous. It has something to do with the social political nonsense about how they haven't aged well and how they want to make room for the newer comics that are holding up a little better in their eyes. Is very much a paraphrase from the explanation given for why they did this, but it's kind of broad strokes. That's what they said. Oh, and that just does not sit right in my mouth. So yeah, Looney Tunes not on Max. They do exist still. Go find them. And then our other Taylor Sheridan, Tulsa King, is coming back for a third season, I believe. Yes, third season. Though Taylor Sheridan himself will not be returning as showrunner. He is only going to be on as executive producer. So very interesting. Sylvester Stallone, though, will be returning to lead the series as he has for the first 2 seasons. That is what we have for follow-ups. Let's talk about trailers for TV streaming. Black Mirror finally dropped a proper trailer, not just a little teaser, but we have a good long proper trailer that gives us the release date of April 10th. We have confirmation from Charlie Brooker himself, the guy who created Black Mirror, that this is going to be a return to form. Judging from the trailer, by and large, that seems to be an accurate statement. We won't be able to fully gauge that until the series obviously launches, but some of the stuff in here looks like he's trying to expound upon ideas in the less successful seasons. But then also we have the return to the USS Callisto. I think that's the name of the ship. The Star Trek kind of analog that was really, really good. And I don't know how the hell you're going to do a sequel to that. But also, like, this is the first time that Brooker is doing any sort of like continuation from one short to another. So super intrigued by exactly how that's going to work and what's going to happen. But yeah, super excited for season 7 of Black Mirror. Go check out the trailer. Let's move on. Our next trailer is for an anime called, I'm not going to say this right, not going to say this at all, Gachiakuta. It is on Max. Actually, it's Crunchyroll, which I believe goes through Max. I'm pretty sure, but it's Crunchyroll. This anime looks bonkers. Bonkers. Looks so interesting. I honestly, this was a YouTube algorithm said, hey, you like to watch trailers, here's a really cool trailer, and I went, yes it is, thank you very much, YouTube. Starts in July. I could not find an exact day in July, but it will be up on Crunchyroll some point in July. Go watch the trailer and get as excited about this as I am. I haven't watched a really crazy anime like this in a long time. I'm probably gonna watch this, not gonna lie. Next up is, this one's for the slightly older out there amongst you. Leverage. Leverage Redemption, the spin-off series, is going into its 3rd season, April 17th on Amazon Prime. Trailer just dropped. Looks like it's the Leverage I remember watching. I mean, basically the same functionality. It is an evolution from where it was when I watched the original series, and I didn't necessarily watch the original series extensively, but enough to be entertained by it. It's a procedural with a unique twist, I guess is the best way if you've never watched Leverage before. It's like a cop show without the cops. So yeah, it's interesting. Go check out the trailer. That's what we got for trailers though. Let's talk now about regular ass news. We have one piece of regular ass news in TV streaming, and that is the MTV Movie and TV Awards. This will be the 2nd year in a row that it will not be happening. It's not even that they're not filming it and then they're just going to let us know who won the awards. They're not even giving out the damn awards. So this would seem, this is my speculation on the situation, but it would seem that the sign of the times. As I've been saying for a couple of years at this point, nobody cares about people in Hollywood giving themselves a pat on the back and saying good job. Like, that's why the Oscars are continuously losing viewership. That's why the Golden Globes are continuously losing viewership. I think all of the major award shows are losing viewership, but you're also seeing the emergence of new awards shows like the Game Award, not the Game Awards. Game Awards is also losing viewership, but that's a whole different thing. It was the Evo Fighting Game Awards, which happened this year for the first time. We talked about it a couple weeks ago after it happened. But that is voted on by the community, and it's such a hyper-focused community, like it makes sense. So because of the hyper-focused nature, and the fact that the community itself is voting on it and not the people involved with the making of the games are voting on it, because that just is redundant. That, I think, is why it has the possibility of faring better than other kind of award shows. And award shows like that, something that gets the actual community that is digesting the entertainment or the content, if you will, and not just the content creators at hand. So yeah, MTV Movie and TV Awards. Going the way of the buffalo, it would seem. That's what we got for regular ass news. Let's talk about suggestion for the week. Your suggestion in TV streaming: Daredevil, Born Again. I just started it. I watched the first 2 episodes. We're 4 episodes deep. I watched the first 2 episodes. I can see why it's an appropriate successor to the Netflix show. It is only streaming on Disney, so if you don't have Disney, you're gonna have to find some other way to get it. But yeah, this is, they're not really pulling any punches. I feel like it's a little bit more clean cut than the Netflix show was, but still works. Still works. I don't know. I got nothing else to say besides just gushing about how really into it I am. So that's your suggestion of the week. Go watch Daredevil Born Again. Okay, I'm gonna cut in real quick. Just do the real quick reminder. If you haven't hit the subscribe button already, then please, by all means, do that. But also, you can thumbs up every video, whereas you can only subscribe the once, assuming you don't get unsubscribed somehow or accidentally hit the unsubscribe button, because things happen, I guess. Either way, the thumbs up is kind of the better way to let YouTube know you like what's going on here. Even if you don't feel like you want to subscribe just yet, just let them know that you enjoyed this video at least, and then they'll start to send this to other more like-minded people such as yourself and myself, it would seem. So thank you very much for doing that. All right, let's get back to the thing. For the movie section this week, we finally have a little bit more information on actually a couple of movies. The Toxic Avenger starring Peter Dinklage, though there's a little bit of very interesting weirdness going on with that. And then Mortal Kombat 2, plus the Mortal Kombat 2 movie has confirmed that they're going to be releasing skins from the movie into the current Mortal Kombat 1 game. There's a lot of stuff going on here. And then possibly my favorite update for movies this week is Neil Blomkamp is going to be rebooting Starship Troopers. That's right, you heard me correctly. There's a bit more to talk about here, so let's do it. Follow-ups and corrections for movies. We have follow-up on The Toxic Avenger. We know that it's finally making its way into theaters August 29th. We now have some actual images of, well, some of these look like they might be Peter Dinklage, but by and large, that ain't Peter Dinklage in that makeup. Just really cool to see their take on it. The reason why, usually we don't talk about when they just release things like this, like just pictures of the thing. That's not really news. I think the interesting thing about this, why I wanted to put it in the news show, is because A, that's obviously not Peter Dinklage. Like, who the hell are they trying to fool? But B, the redesign of Toxie is taking into consideration all of the iterations before this one and kind of adding little bits and pieces to the design of the character to honor all of the other iterations of it. And all of the other iterations, I think there's 4 or 5 Toxic Avenger movies that Troma put out, and then you have the Toxie and Friends, or whatever the hell the animated series was called. And the evolution comes from the 5 different Toxie movies and then the animated version of Toxie. So you get coloration like it's from the animated movie, or show rather, and then you get just little bits and pieces, and then still it feels like a unique thing unto itself. Still, I'm just really super excited about the fact that this is actually going to make its way into theaters and we're going to be able to see it, and that it looks like it gets the joke and is going to honor said joke. I'm super excited about it. Let's move to our other follow-up, and that is Mortal Kombat 2. This is actually kind of a big follow-up. Also, a little bit of new news tied in there. Mortal Kombat 2, we know it's happening October 24th, so it will be out this year. not the news. The new part is we finally are seeing some of the new characters, which again, really the only reason we're doing this because Mortal Kombat, but the other part of this is the actual like, oh, this is new information. We already know who's playing all of the characters. We finally get to see Carl Urban in his iteration of Johnny Cage, which still feels like they just barely, just a little, just kind of missed the mark. Just off, just a little. It's still Carl Urban. Like, that's just Carl Urban shaved with a little bit of bleach in his hair. Like, there's nothing to... He's a great actor, though, so I still hold out hope that it's going to be great. But, so we get to see Carl Urban, Martin Ford as Shao Kahn, and Adeline Rudolph as Kitana. These three are getting skins in the Mortal Kombat 1 game alongside Scorpion and Sub-Zero. We're getting Scorpion and Sub-Zero Mortal Kombat movie skins in the game, and they look really, really amazing. Super, super amazing. Which kind of is a video game update, but this might be an inkling of something resembling... We're not going to get a combat pack proper. I've already given up the idea that there's going to be a whole new slew of characters and skins. We're going to get a skins pack. We already have the MKX skins in the game, and then the Outworld, it's the Outworld like event or something, like they're wearing formal wear. That's what's in the current season right now, and all of that looks fantastic. But we're seeing a reinvigorated Netherrealm feeding into the game again, now that, you know, they've made a little bit of that Fortnite money, now that we have the demise of so many other things in Warner Brothers and the upper-ups at Warner Brothers going, you guys make us money, so please keep doing that. They have the go-ahead to focus on the things that apparently we've wanted them to do since the beginning of the game, and now they're like, oh, we should probably do this. Anyway, sorry, rambling about a game in the movie section. It looks great. Mortal Kombat 2, October 24th. I will, as soon as those tickets go on sale, I'm gonna get it. Even though I have fairly mid expectations for it, I'm still getting my tickets day of. There is no doubt in my mind. So yeah, that's what we got for follow-ups and corrections. Let's talk about trailers. We got Lilo and Stitch live action trailer. The movie comes out May 23rd. There's been a lot of flack that people have been giving Disney about this trailer. And maybe it's because I have only seen Lilo and Stitch like half a dozen times instead of all of the other musical Disney movies that I watched as a kid, and I saw them all a few dozen times, so maybe that's why it is. But like, there's really not a whole lot in here that feels like it's not an appropriate successor to the animated movie. It's definitely no Snow White situation where it's like, okay, none of this really makes sense outside of like if I squint really hard and look far away. This feels like an appropriate adaptation. Maybe I missed something in the trailer. Please enlighten me in the comment section if that is the case, but like, it looks like a pretty decent adaptation, so I don't see what the issue is. Continuing on though with the trailers, our next one is Happy Gilmore 2. We now have a release date and a proper length trailer. July 25th of this year is when the movie is going to be out. Adam Sandler revisiting, because he finally got the rights back to the character. Like, Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore both existed before his production company came into play. So Adam Sandler made Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore for somebody else, meaning the company that he made those movies for held the rights to those characters and those movies. Similar situation to what Kevin Smith was going through with Dogma. Everything Clerks 2? That before View Askew became a production company, Kevin Smith didn't hold the rights to those. So it's been kind of a battle for what he can do with the movies that happened to Dogma and earlier, effectively. So, and Dogma's been the biggest one, but that's, again, we've talked about that before. So, Happy Gilmore, Adam Sandler's in a similar situation. Happy Gilmore, Bill Madison are owned by somebody else. He got the rights back to Happy Gilmore. I'm sure Netflix had something to do with that. And so now he's doing a sequel to it, and more power to him. Like, that's one of the best comedies of my generation, right? So the big thing on this, though, the little bit that I can read between the lines with this new trailer is I really think that Shooter McGavin might be the new teacher, sensei, whatever. He's gonna step in for Chubbs. Like, I think that's going to be the twist. I think that in the teaser trailer that we got a couple weeks ago, where you have Happy and Shooter facing off in the rain, and he says McGavin, and he says Gilmore, and then it cuts away. I think that's going to be at the beginning of the movie, and then we're going to see Shooter mentoring Happy so that he can become a better golfer. I think that's going to be the little twist that he plays at the beginning of the movie. So very intrigued to see how that one plays out. Love me some, even the bad Adam Sandler movies are not that bad, right? I don't know, I never saw Jack and Jill or That's My Boy, but either way, the rest of them, not that bad. And then our other trailer this week is Freakier Friday. Lindsay Lohan, Jamie Lee Curtis return. The movie releases August 8th. The new trailer is out now. The new twist is it's not just mother and daughter switching places. It's mother, daughter, granddaughter, and friend, apparently. What the hell? So yeah, again, there was nothing. It was early 2000 Disney schlock is kind of where you chalk up Freaky Friday. It did better than most. It was not bad. Now they're making a sequel. Sure, why not? That's what we got for trailers, so let's move into some regular ass news, and this is the piece, aside from Mortal Kombat, because I'm always going to put that stuff first, but this is the piece that I'm the most excited about for the movie section this week, and that is Starship Troopers. Our reboot is going to be Neil Blomkamp writing and directing a reboot for Starship Troopers. Now, why am I so excited about it? Well, if you know who Neil Blomkamp is, Neil Blomkamp almost made a Halo movie. That's a whole development thing that we probably might go into one day on the second channel or something, but almost made a Halo movie. He did make Chappie, which is one of those movies that I just love, and I couldn't pinpoint or exactly explain to you why it is. It's just good. It's just fun to watch. But most notably is District 9. And then he's still, to some degree, last we heard, working on District 10, which is going to be the sequel to District 9. But District 9 kind of proves, his creative brain is just kind of a level above most everybody else. Also, he made that on like a shoestring budget, and it looks amazing. It still looks really damn good. So the fact that he's the guy that makes these really gritty, low budget science fiction blockbusters, like they didn't think it was going to do nearly as well as it did. That's why it's getting a sequel. That's why he also made Elysium, which, I don't know, well, that's another conversation for another time too. I like Elysium. A lot of people don't seem to have an appreciation for it, but I think it's pretty damn good. Neil Blomkamp making Starship Troopers. All right, and then beyond that, we know for sure that his iteration of Starship Troopers is going to be more in line with the Heinlein book and not the movie. So there are differences between the Robert Heinlein book of Starship Troopers and the movie that we got from Paul Verhoeven. Paul Verhoeven's movie uses similar material. Like, it is definitely an adaptation of the Heinlein book, but in kind of the loosest sense of the word, because Heinlein's book is very serious and straight-laced and kind of hard. The Verhoeven movie is satire and is meant to be funny, and there's a couple of things in my notes that I kind of wanted to read directly. So reportedly, the script will be closer to the original Heinlein novel than the Verhoeven movie, so presumably this movie will differentiate itself from the Helldivers movie, because Helldivers deals with very similar subject matter as the Verhoeven movie version of this story. So presumably the Helldivers movie that we know we're getting as well is going to serve as the satire version of this story to a degree. And then the Blomkamp version of this movie is going to be the serious version of this story. So super stoked for legitimately both of these movies, but more so the Neil Blomkamp movie, just because I really like Starship Troopers. I really like the satire version. I like the straight-laced version. I love Neil Blomkamp. So this is just a win all around, right? And then our final piece of regular-ass news for movies this week is, honestly, up until a couple hours ago, I thought this was legitimately confirmed hard fact news. And then I read a quote from Sadie Sink that throws a bit of shade on that, throws a lot of doubt. So Sadie Sink in Spider-Man 4 This apparently has been reported on by just about everybody at this point. Sadie Sink, though, just finally was asked about it, and she kind of made it sound like maybe she's not actually been cast in this movie. Because she said something, and I kind of only had time to skim through the interview, but she said something along the lines of, I haven't spoken with Paul Feige about being anything in the MCU, so I'm honored that people are fan casting me, but as far as I know, that's not the case. Something along those lines. I very well could have just be misremembering this interview, but like, she's definitely casting some serious doubt on whether or not she's actually been cast. So originally this piece was going to go, Sadie Sink has been cast in Spider-Man 4 to mystery role that seems to question whether or not she's going to be Jean Grey going forward in the MCU, or if she's going to be the new version of Mary Jane Watson. MJ, right? Mary Jane Parker is after they get married. Watson's her maiden name. I'm pretty sure I'm remembering that correctly. So it's now that she's playing coy about the whole situation. What are we speculating on? Are we speculating on the fact that she's actually been cast as something, or are we speculating on what that something might be? Because both of those seem like fair game now. So honestly, I think that the Jean Grey rumors that were reported on about 2 months ago right now, if memory serves, might have even been like January when that first broke and then kind of picked up steam. But I think that those were purposefully leaked out in order to throw people off the scent. I think that legitimately, because she is very active in a lot of other projects, I think it makes a little bit more sense that she would be MJ and not Jean Grey. It makes sense in my head anyway. So yeah, Sadie Sink possibly cast in Spider-Man 4 ? Oh, let's move on. That brings us to our suggestion. Suggestion this week for movies is Legend, 1985 classic. Tim Curry as the darkness, Tom Cruise as the hero. Just, if you've never seen this and you like fantasy movies, you simply must. I have a little thing that I wrote here again. Visually stunning fantasy adventure where a young hero battles the Lord of Darkness, Satan, played by Tim Curry, to save a magical world complete with unicorns, goblins, and a fairy tale romance. Directed by Ridley Scott, of all freaking people. It's a cult classic dripping with 80s charm, from its lush visuals to Tim Curry's unforgettable horned villain. If you love epic quests and otherworldly vibes, this hidden gem will sweep you into its enchantingly dark heart. Yes, it is a work of beauty. Practical effects hold up to this day. It's freaking amazing. Streaming currently on Apple TV Plus if you have a subscription, or you can rent it on things like Prime and the Microsoft Store, or you can buy it on those platforms as well. It kind of does its rounds in other places usually as well, so if it's not on your favorite streamer yet, it probably will be soon. So go check out Legend from 1985, starring Tim Curry and Tom Cruise. This is just a real quick shout out to channel partner Dubby. Dubby.gg is the website. Generally Nerdy is the code at checkout, so you can get 10% off of your caffeinated needs or hydration needs. You don't have to get caffeine. Dubby does it all, man. If you need drink powders that do wonderful things as far as your hydration, as far as your caffeine levels, as far as just making it through the day, then go check out Dubby. They have, god damn it, they have partnered with the channel. I do get a little bit of a kickback when you use my code. I appreciate that. It definitely helps the channel survive and, you know, keeps me alive and things. So that also is a wonderful thing. But either way, go get your caffeinated needs over at dubby.gg. Now let's get back to the video.
That's classified.
Rumor mill is the big one, as kind of per usual anymore. We have Russo brothers denying that those MCU leak images are from anything they're working on. Plus, we have Colin Farrell might be stepping in to take over for Daniel Craig for a different DCU movie than what you might be expecting. We also have WB is putting everything on Superman to a degree. If Superman doesn't do well, then it's going to mean a major shakeup over at WB. And we have Sadie Sink as Mary Jane in Spider-Man 4. There's some speculation that we need to talk about because I feel like there's a lot of information floating around out there. So without any further ado, let's do the rumors. Confirmations and refutations is where we start in the rumor mill. And we have a refutation? Question mark? Refutation, it has to do with the MCU link. So the Russo brothers, we've been talking about this ad nauseum since it came out, right? I think this is relevant though, because I think this is the Russo brothers playing a little coy. We did learn last week that the images predate the Russos' involvement on the project. So that's why I say this is kind of a refutation. They're refuting the idea that this is concept art from their movies. They are saying that neither Secret Wars nor Doomsday are going to look anything like these images. But really, if you think about it, there's bound to be some similarities, just because we know roughly the territory they're covering from the comic books. They're not going to do it a straight adaptation of any sort of comic book story. Like, that's just not the way the MCU has really functioned. But we know rough ideas of where they're going. So like, yeah, some of this stuff is going to be, and also we're going to be able to confirm at least some of this because some of those images that leaked were from the Fantastic Four movie, which comes out fairly soon. So if those are accurate, probably we're gonna see a little bit of accuracy. Maybe I'm less sure of my 50% prediction from 2-3 weeks ago, but still, I would hold on to maybe a 25% representation of this artwork in the new movies. But the Russos say that it is not from their project, so it has nothing to do with the things that they're working on. So that's your refutation. It's the only one we got. No confirmations either. So let's talk. No actual new sources for old rumors. We just have new damn rumors. All right. So new rumors. First one is Colin Farrell is reportedly going to be replacing Daniel Craig on a new DC Universe project called Sergeant Rock. Craig dropped out, no word as to exactly why, but it's interesting because this is another DC project. Colin Farrell is already the Penguin. However, the Penguin exists in the Reeves-verse, if you will, and the Sergeant Rock character is supposedly going to be in the DCU proper. So different universes, same actor, could happen. This, I almost was going to give this a much lower likelihood score just because like there is so much that Colin Farrell probably doesn't want to do with the DCU at this point. But then I'm pretty sure I saw it in one of the lesser trades. It was in not Variety, something else that has a super high profile, but is and has a pretty good reputation, but is also broke the as far as I know, it was broken by very less than reputable source. And Colin Farrell has already kind of said that this is kind of reading between the lines. I don't want to mislead anybody, but he has implied that he's kind of done with this kind of stuff for a while. He is one that wants to make a one for you, one for me kind of movie making situation. So he did the one for you was the Penguin. He's going to be returning as the Penguin in the next Batman movie. So the one for him is probably what he's going into now. So the fact that 50%, we're saying 50% likely that Colin Farrell is going to be playing Sergeant Rock in the DCU. I feel like that's just a big contractual obligation that he's not going to want to waste his time with. So next up, we have WB. Oh yeah. So we have a big rumor that David Zaslav, who is now in charge of Warner Brothers Discovery, he is the CEO of said company, is on the brink of promoting Peter Safran, aka James Gunn's production partner, to the head of the entire movie division, not just head of DC, co-head with James Gunn. Everything apparently is hanging on the success of Superman. If Superman does well, because none of the sources, this comes from quite a few different places, none of those sources though specify what exactly is hanging on the success of Superman. If Superman does well, I am assuming, then Safran's gonna, Safran's gonna get the job as head of the movie division, and the two existing heads are just going to have to be out on unemployment. If Superman does not do well, then it sounds like there's going to be some crazier shakeups in Warner Brothers. Either way, it's going to be a shakeup. But according to this rumor, if Superman does poorly, it's going to be a wild shakeup. So the likelihood that this is a thing, Zaslav has implied as much, maybe to a lesser degree, I think. I don't know that he's ever implied that the entire movie-making division of Warner Brothers Discovery is dependent on a single movie. He's never really said anything along those lines. But he has said he wants to clean house. He has said that, DC are the movies that should be making them money, etc., etc. There's a lot of things that you can kind of connect the dots and get to a very similar conclusion as this. So we're going to say about 60% likely that Zaslav, and I feel like that's very conservative. I really feel like there's a lot of energy behind this. I'm playing it conservative this week with that. Next up is Cujo. Netflix bought the rights so they can make a reboot movie of the Cujo book from Stephen King. The new rumor around that is that they're going to be getting Darren Aronofsky to direct their Stephen King adaptation. This feels not accurate. I'm actually changing my prediction in real time right now because I don't think 50% is accurate. I think it is a little bit lower than that. We're going to drop that down to 40% likely that Darren Aronofsky is going to be the director for the Cujo movie. A number of reasons why. A, Aronofsky is more of a art house kind of guy. Not exactly one to do an adaptation, though I know he did do the he did the Moses movie. Not Moses. He did do the Noah movie, which was an adaptation, a different kind of adaptation. I don't know that you could ever put this into the same category as that. Stephen King and the Bible? Yeah, not really the same thing. Also, Stephen King. I don't know that Aronofsky doing horror doesn't feel like he'll do something like Requiem for a Dream, which is a kind of horror, but it's not like traditional like monsters and slashers and that kind of stuff horror. So supernatural, nothing. Yeah, this just feels wrong in so many levels. So we're going to go 40% likely that Aronofsky is going to be directing this. This one actually comes from I'm pretty sure it was Deadline was the final source that I saw this on. So this is going against type, because usually once it's made its way into the trades, it's kind of all but confirmed. I just don't see this one panning out. So there's that. And then our final rumor for the new rumors is Coyote vs. Acme, the Warner Brothers animated movie that they've been sitting on for over 2 years now at this point. Reportedly, Warner Brothers is looking to sell distribution rights to a different company. They don't want to distribute it themselves, but they want the opportunity to possibly make money on it still, so they're going to be selling the rights to somebody else to put it out. I mean, it sounds like there are a number of production companies out there that are looking to do it. We do see that Warner Brothers wants to I don't know if promote is the best word for it. They want to do something with animation because we have the Saves the World, the Looney Tunes Save the World, whatever movie that's coming out. We talked about it when the trailer dropped. It looks pretty like it's going to be classic Looney Tunes animation. So they're doing that. They're doing minimal amount of promotion, actual promotion for it though, which is why this seems a little weird. It has been said that there are people who have seen this movie already, even though it's not been released, behind the scenes kind of thing. And they say that it's great, so maybe Warner Brothers is trying to find any avenue through which it can make a couple of bucks. I don't know, there's just a lot of things, again, if you're reading between the lines and you're paying attention, kind of start to add up in the favor of this. So we're going to say about 70% likely that somebody else is going to be releasing the Coyote vs. Acme movie. And then that brings us into our speculation, which I've kind of already sold you. I gave you the speculation in the movie section because of the weirdness with Sadie Sink. Spider-Man 4. Sadie Sink is Spider-Man 4. It would seem that Sink is playing Mary Jane rather than Jean Grey as once assumed. Theories of Jean being in Spider-Man before an X-Men movie come out seem to be a bit far-fetched. I can't see Feige doing something as complicated for a normie viewer as putting an X-Man in a Spider-Man movie before we get an X-Men movie. I think that there is a possibility of a crossover movie eventually. I just don't think that now is the time to do that. It seems to reason that Feige is very single-minded in that he wants to establish a character or a group of characters even, in their own movie, and then branch out from there, and not in reverse of that. You don't start with a bunch of characters and then you give them their own movie. Like that's just not the way that the MCU has worked ever. So yeah, that's my speculation. Again, I kind of ruined it because we talked about it because of the whole Sadie Sink interview thing. Oh, that's the rumor mill though, nerds. All right, so housekeeping. Yeah, sorry, we're late. I told you it was going to happen though last week, so not really a big deal. And also put it up on the socials. So yeah, we're late. You knew it was going to be late. I really got nothing else going on behind the scenes this week. The episode of That Just Happened from last week just went up. The rest of the clips from last week will still be finding their way up. So even though this is late, there's still plenty of content to be digested. This week's That Just Happened will also be probably late because I'm not filming it. I usually film That Just Happened and the news show at the same time. Not happening this week. I'll be doing That Just Happened probably either in the morning tomorrow or after the day job tomorrow afternoon. So yeah, that is where we're sitting with this. I appreciate you, nerds. Thank you very much. We're just going to sign out at this point. So assuming you've done the subscribe and the thumbs up and or the thumbs down, whatever. Beggars can't be choosers. But yeah, thank you very much, nerds, for joining me for another one. If you are falling behind in your nerd news, you want to catch up, then you click or tap one of the boxes that's showing up. Assuming you're on the YouTube, or otherwise, just go check out the rest of the feed, I guess. You can do that. Let me know in the comments down below if there's something that I missed. Definitely share the show with everyone you know, because that is the best way to get stuff out like this, because the YouTube algorithm kind of sucks these days. It's getting a little bit better, but emphasis on little. Yeah, so I appreciate you, nerds. Thank you very much for joining me. Before we go, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.